Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota. I'm Beth Miller. I'm a retired Unitarian Universalist minister and current ordinary member of this congregation, singing in the choir and enjoying being one of the folks. I'm taking the pulpit today in Reverend Jay's absence due to his family emergency, or the death of his father-in-law. And let's hold Jay and his wife Jan and their family in our thoughts and prayers as they go through this tender time. He will be back by next week for sure. I don't know when he's coming back, but soon. We especially want to welcome our visitors this morning, both here on campus and over the live stream. We invite you to participate in any of our activities and events to find out more about us and to learn about Unitarian Universalism if you're not familiar. If you're attending this service on YouTube, please sign our virtual guest book, which you can find in a link on the homepage of our website. And our website is uusrq.org, easy to remember. If you're here in person, there's a sign-up sheet for visitors at the welcome table just outside the sanctuary doors. Perhaps you stopped by there and were greeted as you were coming in this morning. Whether in person or online, if you sign up with your contact information, we will send you our weekly newsletter and Zoom links by email for all of our virtual events that go on during the week. And please join us for beverages and cookies in the courtyard after the service. We look forward to getting to know you better. I have some announcements this morning. First of all, the Arts Council is pleased to present the paintings of Jana Millstone, a nationally known artist with many of her pieces in collections across the country. Jana is a woman of many achievements, a clothing and jewelry designer, industrial designer, and a director for Lenox China. Her show is entitled Max and Me, Finding the Father I Never Knew. By creating a collaborative imagery that integrates her art with her dad's art, she gets to feel closer to her father, who didn't live long enough to know her. So please join us after the service in the Lexau Gallery. That's right across the other side of the courtyard. And I'll give you a hint, if you haven't been to one of our art openings before, they do really nice refreshments. Next, while you're in that part of the campus over there, stop by the Social Justice table. The Social Justice Committee wants you to help them thank Bishop Marion Edgar Budd, the Episcopal Bishop of Washington, D.C. Please stop by their table in the courtyard. It's right next to the Lexau room, and sign the document they have telling her that we really appreciate what she did at the inaugural prayer service on January 21st. Your signature and any reflections that you wish to include will be sent to Bishop Budd. Donna Allman's service of interment in the Memorial Garden right out here is at 12 o'clock, not 12:30, as previously announced. I couldn't wait that long to do it because I have some other things going on this afternoon. But we will inter Donna's ashes for any of you that want to step out there at 12 o'clock and participate in that. It'll only take 15 minutes or so. She was a longtime member of our congregation. She passed away on January 9th. She had moved away to be closer to family 2 or 3 years ago, so many of you probably don't know her, but those of you who did know her will maybe want to join us for that. And now I want to introduce Bill Payton, our president, the president of our Board of Trustees, who has a word to share with you.
Thank you, Beth. Well, I'm wearing green today, so you can guess what we're going to talk about. My term of president of the board is up in about 6 weeks, so I have negotiated a new position. But there's a couple other positions that I could take on as well. Specifically, this is a cleanup hitter. And this particular guy is Rocky Colavito in 1962 while playing for the Detroit Tigers. And we began the stewardship campaign 5 weeks ago today, so I'm the 6th speaker and the last speaker, so therefore I'm in the cleanup spot. And you know what cleanup batters are supposed to do. They're supposed to produce RBIs. Now, I think you know that RBI normally stands for runs batted in, but not today. Today it stands for really big increases. So get comfortable, not too comfortable. Maybe take out your checkbook and your wallet. But we are 5 weeks into our campaign, and as of Wednesday, we had received 172 pledges. Now, this is only half of our current pledge units. So I want to ask a question, and I want to ask it as nicely as I can. What are you waiting for? The board has an obligation to present a budget to you on March 30th, only about, 5 weeks away. And we cannot really present a meaningful budget until we have your pledges in. So please help us out and get these budgets in. Do you know that the cost of opening our doors every day is $1,997? And I just rounded that up, let's call it $2,000. And for a lot of good reasons, we would like to add a full-time custodian and a second minister. And we'd like to add that second minister mid-year, maybe around October 1st. And I don't have time now, and you don't have time now, to go into all the reasons, but the impact on our next year's budget is about another $220 a day. So what we'd like to present to you at the end of March is a budget that represents $2,220 a day to open the doors. In one of our congregational conversations, I think in January, Peg Green said that in one of her earlier congregations, that they once talked about the cost today and asked their members to pay for one day out of the year. And I think that'd be a great idea, and if you do, I'll even name the day after you. So pledge now, pay later. Time is running out for us and for our budget process. We need your pledge. It's your promise to pay. And to understand what's behind these needs so that we can talk about our aspirations a little bit more in depth, please plan on attending our congregational conversation on Monday night, March the 10th. We can go into full depth to your satisfaction. Now, so far this morning, I've been a lame duck and a cleanup hitter, and this stewardship campaign is not over until we hear from every member. So if I don't hear from you, if we don't hear from you, I will become a hound. And I will hound you until we receive that pledge card. If you need a pledge card, see us in the courtyard after the service. Please pledge today. Write us an IOU. And remember, our flea market is just 5 weeks away. Sign up in the courtyard. Thank you.
love it when he comes to play for us. He's so good. Please join me as we light the chalice this morning. The words of affirmation are printed in your order of service. Ready? As we light the generosity, please say the words with me as we light the chalice. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality.
Good morning. Always nice to test. Today's story is The Battle Between Hope and Despair, written by Catherine Bonner. In a land far away, but very much like ours, lived a people a lot like us. People who did not always share the same ideas on how to get things done, but people who valued diversity, civility, cooperation, and the rule of law to make things better for all, not just for some. In this land, a tale is told for all to remember and share, the time of the great battle between hope and despair. For you see, for all the values that they held together, not everyone used to be treated the same. Some were treated better. Until Mitchell the Mindful came along. Mitchell was a young boy who knew right from wrong. He was a mix of many cultures from many different lands, and he could see that things were getting out of hand. Inside of him, just like all of us, were deep emotions like trust and love and anger and fear, joy and sadness, empathy and despair. But the strongest was hope, so deep in his soul. It was hope that kept them all balanced as a whole. Though life was scary and often unfair, the great battle of hope and despair was not fought with arms or guns or kicking shins, but was fought by Mitchell from deep within. Hope was there in the center, keeping all the emotions working together, with all the ups and downs that Mitchell could feel from the experiences in his life that were real. But soon Hope noticed the small nicks and cuts from darts and arrows being thrown from the dark. As she watched her essence leak and disappear, she couldn't help but think, what is going on here? And so through Mitchell's eyes, she saw the taunts made to him from bullies and those he used to call friends. And Mitchell's mom helped heal him through love and pride. And Hope healed too and grew bigger inside. But slowly, Hope found it getting harder to breathe. A heavy weight was upon her. She was being buried. Where did it come from and why was it here? That was her first encounter with despair. Where hope was light, despair was dark. I'm out to destroy you, despair said with a snark. Hope cried, but why would you do such a thing? Because I should be the center. I should be the king. But that would destroy us all and kill all that is good. Yeah, okay, I agree it would. But I'll be powerful and all will do as I say. So Hope called on love and trust and kindness to drag him away, back to the darkness from which despair snuck in, as Hope regained her breath, and then Hope looked again through Mitchell's eyes to find out why, and saw the obstacle course of his life had many more hills than others who had no greater and sometimes lesser skills, except they were like those who held all the wealth and the power to make people like Mitchell feel lesser, to work harder, or to cower. So Hope gathered all the emotions together to discuss this new threat, and as she was talking, she felt the first wet drop from the fire hose that despair carried from the shadows, along with his friends' pain and shock, and that guy from the gallows. Hope's friends were all swept aside. Hope could feel herself starting to slide. Then despair spoke up again with glee. You know, if you'll give up and give in, I'll make the pain and shock go away. Maybe. But Hope would not give up or give in and looked around for ways to win. And then she noticed Apathy sitting in his chair, just sitting and watching, not moving a hair. Apathy, she cried, you must get up off your rump. If you don't come help, we'll all be in the dump. And Apathy replied in his bored, flattened tone, really? What's going on has nothing to do with me. I just like sitting in my chair, watching this battle without a care. Hope was getting smaller and smaller. What a terrible situation, until the fire hose turned upon Apathy too for total domination. And when shock zapped Apathy out of his stupor, Apathy rose from his chair. He grabbed his friend's anger and courage and love and care, and he created an emotional wall between hope and despair, until Hope towered over them all and yelled, "You will not win!" and pushed despair back into the shadows along with his friends. And when Hope yelled, so did Mitchell to those who would make him cower, and those around him listened and found their own power to stand with Mitchell to create some change, knowing that many losses may happen to cause pain and shock and despair before it was done, to become a people who value diversity, civility, cooperation, and rules of laws to help all and not just some. The end of despair. Thank you. So now I'd like to invite all the children and youth to join their teachers, Miss Julie, we kept it simple today, Mr. Chris, and me in their classrooms to learn about others who said, "You will not win." Thank you.
Our words for centering this morning are a prayer. So please join me in the spirit of prayer or meditation. O divine source of light and love, you who are called by many names and known in many ways, in this time of division, uncertainty, and unrest, we turn to you as a people longing for hope. As anger and fear arise around us, plant in us the seeds of understanding. When despair clouds our vision, lift our eyes to the possibility of a brighter tomorrow. May we remember that no conflict is beyond healing, no darkness beyond the reach of light, no hatred stronger than love. Give us the strength to work for justice with compassion, to speak truth with kindness, to stand firm in our values while embracing our shared humanity. Let hope rise within us like the dawn, steady and unshaken. A promise that no night lasts forever. May we be bearers of that hope in our words, in our actions, in our hearts. In the name of peace, in the name of love, in the name of justice, we pray. Amen. And now enter with me a few moments of silence. Our reading this morning is called Growing a Culture of Hope by the Reverend Diane Daugert. Hope is rising. It is the nature of hope to rise. It lifts our spirits. It buoys us up when despair threatens to drag us down. It gives us a boost when we feel we can't go on. Hope is the fuel and the energy that keeps the world moving forward. Hope doesn't exist on its own. Hope is like the leaven that causes a loaf of bread to rise. In baking bread, flour and sugar create the culture in which the yeast can do its work. A spiritual community is the culture where hope grows, where we create the leaven that makes our spirits rise. We belong to a tradition of hope. We come from a lineage of people who saw the world not just as it was, but how it could be. We are rooted in an ancestry of possibility. People who, through the ages, worked tirelessly to overcome religious persecution and oppressive forces that keep people from fully living lives of worth and dignity. We come from religious ancestors who worked to create institutions that promote values of liberty, equity, compassion, and justice, while working to tear down societal structures and systems that uphold tyranny and oppression. This is our heritage. Hope is in our spiritual DNA, or as the Czech playwright Václav Havel said, hope is a dimension of the spirit. It is not outside of us, but within us. When you make bread, you have to feed the yeast if your bread is to rise. We would be wise to feed the hope that is in us if we are to rise into the promise of all we can be as a people of faith. We should pay attention to the culture that feeds our spirit. End of reading. Diane Daugert reminds us to feed the hope that is in us. What feeds your hope, especially when hope is hard to find? Music often helps me to remain hopeful. Holly Near has been one of the musical voices for progressive social change throughout my adult life. Her song, I Am Willing, feeds my hope. We'll sing it together at the end of the service. The refrain goes like this: I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. Diane Daugert wrote about our religious ancestors who generation after generation worked for positive social change. Let us not dishonor them with hopelessness. Holly Near's music has been part of Unitarian Universalist social justice rallies and worship services throughout my 35 years of professional ministry. Her voice and so many voices helped us kindle hope in this time when hope can be hard to find. And hope is so very important right now. Hope is part of us as human beings. We are all more or less hopeful. One's personal degree of hopefulness varies, but hope itself is a crucial part of being human. But hope is one of those words that in modern day parlance has become watered down and overused. In current everyday use, hope is simply thinking about what we want. A contemporary dictionary definition of hope is, quote, to have a wish to get or do something, or for something to happen to be or to be true, especially something that seems possible or likely. We speak of specific hopes. I hope I will get this project done by the deadline. I hope it doesn't rain today, because I'm going out. I hope you have a good time on your birthday. I hope I get that job I interviewed for last week. This kind of hope is a rather naive optimism, more like making a wish. At a deeper level, hope has to do with trust or reliance or faith. A more spiritual definition of hope might be that hope is the deep inner conviction that despite present challenges, there is a path forward toward growth, healing, and fulfillment. It is the quiet resilience of the soul, trusting in the unfolding of life and the unseen possibilities ahead. Hope is the light within that guides us toward meaning, even in uncertain times. Developmental psychologist Jean Piaget speaks of hope as an ego virtue that we all have in varying degrees. He studied the seeds of hope in the bond between infant and caregiver in the first few months of life. It's predictable that the better the quality and consistency of care during those months, the higher the ratio of trust to mistrust in the child, and the stronger, therefore, the ego virtue of hope they develop as they grow. The ancient philosopher Thales said that hope is the only God common to all. Those who have nothing more possess hope still. Hope is the only God common to all. My study of world religions and secular philosophies confirms this. However we understand God, or even if we don't relate to the concept of God at all, we all believe in hope. We all, even when we are feeling hopeless, we all believe in hope. Without hope, life becomes meaningless. In the Inferno, Dante had a sign posted at the gates of hell, "Abandon hope, all ye who enter here." The complete lack of hope is, for Dante, the very meaning of hell. One of Dante's characters asks, "What gnaws at them so hideously? Their lamentations stun the very air." The reply, "They have no hope of death." This is complete and utter hopelessness, endless torment without even the expectation of the sweet release of death. This would indeed be hell. We all live from time to time with some kind of torment, physical pain, emotional trauma, the grief of loss. These torments visit us all at one time or another. It is hope that makes torment bearable. Our hope may simply be for relief from our suffering, or it may offer us a larger perspective on life that makes our suffering more bearable because it points us toward a new chapter in our lives. But those who live among us with no hope, they are indeed living in a kind of hell. Right now, hope may be hard to find for many of us, but we each have within us the capacity to find and strengthen our innate hopefulness. It's important that we be intentional about nurturing hope in ourselves and inspiring hope in others whenever we can. A psychiatrist studying the process of dying writes about an interview with a 28-year-old mom who's dying of cancer. She knows she is dying and she is beyond any reasonable hope for a cure. But still, she has hope, and her hope sustains her as she lives out her final days. The hope that sustains her is broad and generative. It's that her children will be all right. It's that they will be taken care of. Her hope is that her doctors and nurses will give her the best possible care and that she won't be alone when death comes. She believes that it would be wonderful to be cured, of course, but that it is okay to die. Her hope is not in a fantasy that her health will improve, but rather a basic acceptance that what little life she has left still has meaning and purpose. It is by this hope that her situation is tolerable. Václav Havel, from his book Disturbing the Peace, says that for him, especially in situations that seem hopeless, hope is above all a state of mind, not a state of the world. Either we have hope within us or we don't. He says that hope is not prognostication. It is an orientation of the spirit, an orientation of the heart. It transcends the world that is immediately experienced and is anchored somewhere beyond its horizons. Hope, in this deep and powerful sense, he says, is not the same as joy, that things are going well, or willingness to invest in enterprises that are obviously headed for early success, but rather an ability to work for something because it is good, not just because it stands a chance to succeed. The more unpromising the situation in which we demonstrate hope, the deeper that hope is. This is the spiritual understanding of hope. Victor Havel continues, hope is not the same thing as optimism. It is not the conviction that something will turn out well, but the certainty that something makes sense regardless of how it turns out. It is this hope above all that gives us the strength to live and continually to try new things, even in conditions that seem as hopeless as ours do here and now. This young mom's hope is an orientation of the heart. Her hopefulness allows her to find meaning in her life and to be at peace with her impending death. Our chalice lighting this morning implied an affirmation that hope goes hand in hand with gratitude and generosity. I hope you're feeling grateful this morning. And I hope you're feeling generous as we listen to another beautiful piece by Hermann Berndt's beautiful cello. He's going to do the Sonata by Chopin while the ushers receive the offering. For those online, there is a link to donate in the description of the YouTube video. And for those of you here, if you have your cell and want to make a donation that way, there's a QR code in your order of service. Let this sacred time begin. kind of spiritual understanding of hope we've been exploring is a significant part of Unitarian Universalism. It's deeply embedded in our values: justice and equity for all people, spiritual transformation, pluralism, and the interdependence of all of life. These are affirmations that call us to embrace the kind of hope that is more than personal. It's a hopefulness about the future. I did what Jay does sometimes. I messed up my text thing here. These are affirmations that call us to embrace the kind of hope that is more than personal. It is a hopefulness about the fundamental goodness of life, the fundamental goodness of life, and it aims for the collective good of the earth and all her creatures. Brother David Stendhal Rast is a Catholic Benedictine monk who Unitarian Universalist ministers are generally quite fond of and quote often. He's notable for his work with interfaith dialogue and the interactions between spirituality and science. Brother David says that hope is the virtue of the pilgrim. Hope is the virtue of the pilgrim. Anyone who would engage in the spiritual journey must have hope, he says. Hope is openness for surprise. Life is full of surprise, some welcome and some not so much. Openness to the surprises of life grows out of this spiritual kind of hope. William Sloane Coffin, who died in 2006, was another clergy person, theologian that Unitarian Universalist ministers appreciate. He said that hope is a passion for the possible. A passion for the possible. I love that. When we think about these two very similar statements about hope, hope is openness to surprise and a passion for the possible, it becomes clear that our specific hopes can sometimes conflict with hope itself in this larger sense. We all have examples throughout our lives of things we had hoped for that didn't happen. You didn't get that job. The marriage you expected to last forever ended in divorce or death. Instead of a clean bill of health, you got a devastating medical diagnosis. And of course, we feel disappointment, regret, grief. But if we become stuck in these feelings about our unfulfilled hopes, we can easily miss the possibilities in the surprises life offers us in the wake of our dashed hopes. New doors open that are often better than anything we may have anticipated. Hope in this larger spiritual sense, hope as an orientation of the heart, is knowing that we can meet the challenges that arise in life. And how do we know this? Because we're here. We've been here through hard times in our lives before. And we've met the challenges. And we're still here. And we're together in a community of faith and caring. We can let go of regret and open to life's possibilities. The meaning of what comes our way then unfolds within us and around us. Again, Brother David's words, hope, he says, looks at all things the way a mother looks at her child, with a passion for the possible. That way of looking is creative. It creates the space in which perfection can unfold. More than that, the eyes of hope look through all imperfection to the heart of all things and finds it perfect. The eyes of hope are grateful eyes. Before our eyes learn to look gratefully at the world, we expect to find beauty in good-looking things. But grateful eyes expect the surprise of finding beauty in all things. End of David Stendhal Rast's words. Hopeful eyes see possibility, beauty, and even perfection at the heart of all things. I know this is a really hard way to see things right now, as it feels to us like the very foundations of our democracy are being dismantled. And while many of us are privileged enough to avoid direct consequences that threaten us personally, many others are not so fortunate. I don't have to cite examples, you know, and it's pretty overwhelming. I often feel so depleted by the daily onslaught that I just want to check out. But we can't do that, at least not for long. Allowing ourselves to be depleted contributes to a sense of hopelessness. So yes, let's take a break from the news as needed to get our equilibrium back. Be kind to yourself. Think about what you need, and if at all possible, give that to yourself. In this hard time, we need to nurture and strengthen our hope by taking care of ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Also, by extending ourselves to others in loving kindness. We each do this in our own ways. Here are some of the things that I believe can nurture hopefulness. Don't check out completely, but try to reduce the negativity. Cut down on your intake of the news. Too much of it right now is detrimental to our emotional and maybe even our physical health. If you read or listen to the news in the morning, let that be enough. And please, don't turn on the TV or radio or look at the news feeds online right before bed. The anxiety will give you nightmares or insomnia or both. Anything you missed will be there in the morning, I promise. It really will. Yes, wait till morning. If you're on social media, spend less time reading and making comments on all the negative postings. It can raise your blood pressure and sour your mood. Instead, increase the positive. Create a daily 5-minute ritual. Light a candle and pray, meditate, journal, read something inspiring, or simply reflect. Try every day to go outside and look at the sky. Breathe deeply and invite in gratitude. Even though the world is in a mess right now, the sun still shines each morning, and we are awake and alive to enjoy it and participate in it. Let the sky be a touchstone to hope. Remember that people around the world all look at the same sun, not at the same time, but we all look at the same sun and the same moon. We all share this planet together, and together we can get through this part of our history. Do whatever little things you can to make the world a better place. Treat each day like a precious gift and be grateful. Be vigilant at looking for things and people to appreciate. Daily acts of self-care are restorative and healing. They feed our sense of hopefulness. We also nurture hope by reaching out to others. Be discriminatingly generous in expressing your love and compassion in hugs, words, notes, and acts of kindness. Surprise a friend with a phone call. Hug your dear friends and family members just a little longer and with deeper feeling. They need it, and you need it. When we extend ourselves in kindness and gratitude, we not only make a difference in the lives of others, we strengthen hope in ourselves and add a little more peace to the world. The Reverend David Eaton, who was minister of All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church in Washington, D.C. in the 1970s and 80s, once wrote, "The church is that institution whose primary purpose is to help people discover, create, and maintain hope in their lives. When people have no hope, they discover hope together. When they cannot discover hope, they create hope together." May it be so for each of us as we travel this rocky road together. Amen. And now, as promised, we're going to sing along with Holly Neer, "I Am Willing." The words will be up, and I think I have song leaders who are going to come up and sing with me, right? Come on up, Paul. Did you get these sheets? You got one, okay. unfailing renewal of life, rising from the earth and reaching for the sun, all living creatures shall fulfill themselves. We affirm the steady growth of human companionship. Rising from ancient cradles and reaching for the stars, people the world over shall seek the ways of understanding. We affirm a continuing hope that out of every tragedy, the spirits of individuals shall rise to build a better world, because we are open and we are willing, and to be hopeless would be so strange. Please join me as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. May it be so. Go from this place. Have a wonderful day. Come back next week.